Police Commission meeting to order. Today is Wednesday, June 22nd, and it is now 2:00 p.m. Thank you to those joining us via live stream on YouTube and also those in the room. Confirming the attendance of myself, Vice Chair Gibson, Commissioners Okinaga, Silva, Botticelli, Perry, and Chin. Also confirming the attendance of Corporation Counsel, who is in the room, as well as HPC staff. Chief, can I ask you to confirm who is with you?
Yes, you can. I have Deputy Chief Horikawa, Deputy Chief Vanek in the room, Assistant Chief Thompson, Nishibun, and Tong, Acting Assistant Chief Ikihara, and Acting Assistant Chief Hayashi, and the Senior Police Legal Advisor, Lin Wang.
Thank you very much, Chief. At this time, I'd like to confirm quorum.
Madam Chair, you do have quorum.
Thank you very much. We'll be proceeding to public testimony. We have one in-person registered testifier, Mr. David Deef. If you would like to join us at this time, please approach the table and present your testimony. We also have members of the public wishing to testify by telephone, and we will be calling them after our in-person testifier. Good afternoon, Mr. D. Please go ahead and proceed with your testimony.
I was here about 4 years ago. I have an issue, and Ms. Loretta, the former, and Chief Susan, we agree on certain things, and nothing happened after that. And this last month, I guess so. So I have a letter from the head of IEU, Intelligence Enforcement Unit, saying we have nothing against you because I wrote a book. And they give me a letter saying we're not under investigation, we show up. But I went to San Diego or to retire. In 2 months I'll be 77. And I'm still about the issue in my bag. I have a copy of a Deputy Chief
Vanek.
Yeah, that time was a captain. And the head of the commission asked him to work with me. Worked with me for 1 month. Nothing happened. So I'm just wondering when my due process is not there. I was advised by Chief Suzanne to file a lawsuit against IEU for stalking and harassing me. And says, "Okay, of course we'll do for you." I did follow instruction. I filed the paper in the court. And halfway through, I felt like I was not going anywhere. So I called the head guy of IEU. We have a meeting. In the end of the meeting, he handed me the letter. And the letter was saying, as I mentioned, we have nothing against you. I guess somebody got a look on some legal activity was 24/7 was a junior college is talking to me. His name is, he claimed, his name is George Line. So, in my head the name. And the guy operating out of no control doesn't have a court order to follow on me.
Mr. Deef, does that conclude your testimony? I think what would be more helpful is if you work with our executive officer, Jim Ewan, as a follow-up, because some of it is a little bit difficult to understand, but it
I'm
appears,
sorry,
but it appears that you're asking about an investigation that you don't feel was followed through with. So is it okay if we ask Mr. Ewan to maybe make an appointment with you at a later date and then follow up? Is that okay?
tomorrow or next week, I'm retired. I'm here in Honolulu. I left to California because I was advised the problem goes up for me. You gotta go back to Honolulu.
I see.
I
Yeah.
appreciate the community. If you speak to former Chief Suzanne, she didn't give you for when my voice was fine. I appreciate the recommendation. I was willing to take it through.
Thank you, Mr. Deef.
Just a minute.
Mr. Ewan will follow up with you if that's okay.
Thank you.
Thank you
for
so
your
much.
time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for
Thank
coming
you.
in
You
person.
too, guys.
Take
You
care.
do a good job.
Thank you so much. Okay, if no questions for Mr. Deep, we'll move on to our public testifier. We have a request from Mr. Austin Salcido, who I'll try contacting by phone at this time.
Hello,
Hi, may I speak to Mr. Austin Salcido?
Chair Shannon Alabama. Hello, this is Austin Salcedo.
Hi, Mr. Salcido, we have you for public testimony today. Please proceed when you're ready. Thank you.
Okay. My testimony is actually, I'm going to provide a written testimony of appreciation. And this testimony is going to say I appreciate it for HPD for their presence. We had a House representative for District 45 out at Pokai Bay Beach Park. And it's on parallel with Pokai Bay Street. Anyway, had an incident that started to occur outside of the forum of the candidates as they were speaking us to the public, the community about their what they can provide their representation to us. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is the altercations came about, then it came to a fist fight where people from the park had joined in, and somehow the fist fight went into a private property right across the street where there were weapons coming across. Anyway, but I don't want to overstep my bounds before I enter for further investigation, but I'm just putting it out there that there were computers like my wife and I, and we had our guests and all that, but we give a great appreciation for a first responding HPD officer that first responded to that incident. And he came up bravely. Those guys that was doing the fist fight, they were double his size. But he was the first responder, the first officer. Then three after officers came after that. But that first officer bravely went to apprehend and, to defuse the situation of the fist fight, because it could have escalated. But I give great thanks and gratitude for the police officer in Waianae District, because they have a lot of things on their plate. Because we have a whole coastline of beach line, and it has a lot of mental health, substance abuse in our area. They got a lot on their plate. Under Sergeant Major Gil Beckley, she has a lot on her plate to do. But the bravery of her officers under her watch did an immense response on that. What they defused it and protected not only the community at the park, but our House representative and candidates at the park. Okay, and I commend you.
Thanks.
Appreciate HPD's officers. That's the end of my testimony. Just giving great appreciation and gratitude.
Thank you, Mr. Salcido. Ask if anyone has questions for you. Don't see any questions from commissioners. Thank you for testifying today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oyo.
Okay, well, bye. Take care. We have another testifier, Calais, who I will try contacting by phone at this time.
Hello.
Hi, oh, Miss Salcido, it's you. I wasn't sure if it was gonna be you. I'm sorry, I should have just asked if you were with Mr. Salcido. But thank you for signing up to
You're
testify today. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to say, if you can pass the news to the chief Longon, the new one, about for the District 8. I'm so proud of our District 8 precinct. As little as they have, they protected the community to the best they can. And, we was at the Puna Council, thing with the legislature candidates, with the supporters of their family, people could ask them questions, all kind of questions. But there was an incident, and I, just could not believe how fast it turned into a violence. And I said violent because when a pipe in a hand is swings, that becomes violent. And that there was one police officer. I don't know, these people are bigger than him, but he took the step or two, he had more backup. He tried to, de-escalate the situation, defuse the whole thing. But I'm very appreciative in having our police officers, and I'm gonna continue advocating for police officers, in the best interest. But they got a lot on their plate. They got homeless, fighting homeless, mental health, drug using out here in our district. I'm talking from Honolulu to Care House. They play a role. But I did call them to tell them each and every one, and I am going to be writing a letter to Gail Beckley, Officer Bacon, and the chief, police chief, and the commissioners. They should be recognized for the danger they put themselves in every day. These officers should be recognized. And we pray for our safety of all our officers along the island, because it's not an easy job dealing with, the COVID and all that. It's not the COVID we worry about. It's the pandemic of drug using and homeless encampment that we have to face. That's the pandemic we have, and we all need to work together and find a solution. That's all I have to say. But I would, appreciate it if we pass on to the chief. These officers should be recognized because they put their life in danger every day. And we have the highest homeless encampment, drug using, we all know that. But the response that happens to be there is excellent. I just thank God that they go home to the family. They need to be recognized. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ms. Salcido. I'm looking around. There is a question from Commissioner Perry.
I was just wondering if you managed to catch the name of the officer who went in
I can
initially.
barely hear you.
The question is whether you know the officer that was the first to appear at the scene? Do you remember the
I
officer?
wish I knew, but he's a tough little bugger. He's a tough little bugger. He was so to try to defuse it. I'm not sure who he was. We were trying to see, when the homeless captain was to rush. We said, don't, I'll hold it. As Kupunas, we were stopping them not to get involved. So, but they're all tough just to be in that situation, especially when there's a pipe swimming. And we're not talking about a 3-inch pipe. We're talking about a bigger pipe, a longer than 3 feet. We're talking longer than 3 feet pipe. And I'm not sure what his name, because we didn't want to interfere with the other police officers there. But he's a great police officer. They're all great. Putting the light over. they're all brave putting their life on the line when there's a pandemic of drug use and homeless encampment. They're brave just to do the job. District 8, that was, I mean, words cannot express the gratitude because it could have turned into bloodshed. What if they had a ghost gun? The police officers would have been in danger. What if, and everybody would be wiped out if they had a ghost gun?
Thank you,
That's
Mrs.
all I
Sal-
have to say.
Thank you, Mrs. Salcido. And just for your information, Chief Logan is attending this meeting and he can hear your testimony as well. So thank you for your testimony today.
Welcome on board, Mahalo. Welcome on board, Chief Logan. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Have a good afternoon. Goodbye. Thank you.
I'm Leo.
Bye. Okay, that concludes our public testimony.
Madam Chair, we appear to be off to a good start.
Yes. Yeah, Jim confirming there's no other public testifiers requesting testimony at this time.
That's
And-
correct, Chair.
Thank you. With that, we'll move on our agenda with Chief of Police report, and we're happy to welcome Chief Logan to his first meeting. Good afternoon, Chief. Please proceed.
Good afternoon, Chair Olivado, Vice Chair Gibson, and Commissioners. Thank you so much for the opportunity. And thank you to Mr. and Mrs. Salcido for that excellent observation and recognition of the officers in District 8. And we'll find out who the officer was and provide kudos to that officer for their actions on that day. So thank you for that. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today as the first Police Commission meeting. I want to just say, first of all, mahalo to the opportunity, one, to apply for the position, and number two, being selected. It was a long, challenging process for me, and an ability to, to learn more things about myself that I quite probably didn't realize, in some knowledge, skills, and abilities of leading the police department. And so the process, being the way it was, taught me a few things about myself. And so I'm grateful to that. Also to the team at the Attorney General's Office Investigations Division, Chief Hanagami, and all the my fellow white collar and agents down there at the Attorney General's Office for their concerns and their ability to help me understand what it means to be a police chief. The white collar team of Garrett, Bill, and Tom did an excellent job at prepping me for things that I really didn't know, but with better understanding. So as I provided at my last press conference, I took leave from the state and I was a volunteer right after the selection on that Monday. And so I was up here in a limited capacity. And so I wasn't privy to all the things that a chief should know because I was not an official state employee. And then I got COVID in part of that. So that took me out for a week, and that's a process I don't wish on anybody. But being that, then we did a short, I would say, private swearing in to get me on board because I wasn't selected to be in any other position but the police chief. And so we had to do that rather quickly. And then what that led to was being able to participate in the 202nd recruit class graduation, which to me was more personal in nature because 40 years ago and 120 classes ago is when I joined the police department in June of 1982. So a very emotional event for me. And now we have 33 brand new police officers that are still in the training process, but will be out on the streets shortly. But I also got to meet with the mayor's office, other members of the city and county, and with SHOPO leadership. And I'm working on trying to meet with the HGEA leadership, as that's a large population of the union that we have here in Honolulu. Some of the things I'm working on right now is looking at the 312 because it's going to be on my watch to make that final decision. I wanted to get some more data, so we're looking at District 4s and District 5 and trying to gather some more information. So a little extension of the pilot program so that I can have more information. Because that's going to be a significant event for Honolulu. We've tried it before, and now we're going to try it again, so I want to be prepared for that decision. And then just the other night, we got to meet with the 204th recruit class family night. So their family members came in on an evening at the recruit academy in Waipahu. And so we got to talk with their family and loved ones about what they're going to experience the next 6.5 months and to kind of get them prepared. And so there's 22 recruits in that class, and they'll be going through their 6.5 month training. And then Saturday, I participated in the 37th annual Troy Barboza Torch Run for Special Olympics. I've done that in the past in my previous life for a number of years, but this one is again back as a policeman, being able to perform that lead with the torch, lead the run all the way from Fort DeRussy to football field, and just a great opportunity for Honolulu Police Department's been it's been a long time supporting Special Olympics. They continue to do that even during the pandemic when they had to do virtual runs. And so now to do that back live was exciting for all of us. And we had several hundred federal and state law enforcement agencies, as well as community members, and a large portion of HPD were out there, including the recruit classes that just graduated and the 203rd that's in school now. And so what a great opportunity to get to meet everyone out there in the field, and then at the same time get to run with them and show them that even though I'm over the age of 60, I can still run 3.5 miles pretty well. And so it was good to lead that pack. And then today, Chair Olivado, thank you so much for participating in the promotion ceremony we had live. So in person, which we haven't done for a while, we promoted 2 lieutenants, 9 sergeants, and detectives, and then 6 corporals. So there's an outstanding moving people up into the leadership ranks and providing them more responsibilities to show their potential for what these men and women bring to the Honolulu Police Department. As far as COVID numbers for today, we've had a total of 21 sworn officers, 18 that are isolated, and 3 that are quarantined. And then on the civilian side, we've had 11 that are isolated. No significant or major impact to operations. We continue to do what we need to do to keep Honolulu safe and sound. And so we appreciate that. And then one of the other things that was on the news last night was Captain Bodie provided insights into what we're trying to figure out a name for. It's not really smash and grab robberies, but it's these burglaries that people are throwing rocks through the windows and then creeping inside and taking things. So we've identified 24. So we've had 10 in District 7, 2 in District 3, 6 in District 4, and then another 6 in District 8. And this goes back to the beginning of May. And so we're working on leads toward solving these burglaries, and we continue. The team continues to do the investigations with what the information we have. And with that, I'll leave it to your questions.
Thank you, Chief. We'll look around the room for any questions from commissioners. Okay, go ahead, Commissioner Botticelli.
Hi, Chief. I just wanted a little bit more information on the data you're looking for the 312. You said you were looking for more data from districts 4 and 5, I think. Could you explain that?
Yes, Commissioner Botticelli. So the districts are the pilot programs right now. And so they're averaging about 90% of vacancy fills or filling of all the beats within the District 4. District 5 is not quite the same because they implemented it a little bit different. And so what I want to understand is it costing us more in overtime, or is it staying the same, or is it reduced in the amount of money it's costing? So the first 3 months can show us some information as far as how much we're spending or how much it's costing. But I think we need a longer time of trying to determine what exactly is going on, because 3 months is actually a really quick time in law enforcement speak. And so what I'd like to see is a good 6 months to the end of December. Let's take a look at that and see how all the officers are assimilating into the system, because it's only 2 shifts now, 1 night and 1 day. So how is that impacting families? what is that long-term impact? So 3 months really not quite a long time to show the impact. So let's see what that takes. And then, of course, officers are out injured, they might get COVID or some other sickness and stay out. And so how is that going to impact the numbers also? So those are the things of the data I'm looking at. And then the number of arrests. So where are we in citations and arrests? Is it increased? Is it staying the same, or is it decreased? And if it did decrease, why? And then another thing that shows, because you're going to work 12 hours a day, is perhaps you're fatigued, and then you would see an increase in motor vehicle accidents involving officers, which we don't see that right now. And so a little bit more time, not that I'm wishing that upon anyone, but we want to make sure that we're not fatiguing officers and they're being able to work, the 12 hours, 3 days a week. So that's the data I'm looking for.
Thank you.
Commissioner Perry has a question, and then Commissioner Chin.
Chief, just to follow up on that, have you looked at police departments on the mainland and whether or not they're using that 312, and if so, how effective that has been?
Deputy Chief Vanek is telling me that yes, we have, and I don't personally know that data, but I can get information into that, and we will get back to you with that information. But I know there's a number of departments that have implemented 312, and some departments don't like it and some do. So, but I need to find out more information. There's a Major Cities Chiefs Association meeting coming in October, and I think that's a great opportunity for me to attend that meeting and then find out more of those departments that are involved in 312. Thank you, Commissioner, for that.
Chief, you mentioned that there was a promotion ceremony today for, I think you said, corporals, sergeants, and lieutenants.
Yes.
Can you tell us a bit how people get promoted? What's the process they have to go through?
Well, normally they would take a civil service test, and based on that test, they would be ranked based on some other criteria, how well they did on the test, if they've gone to higher education such as college or master's degree. And so there's a number of things that would add to their point value that they would have based on the score of that test. And then from there, they would be rank ordered, and then they would go through an interview process through a panel of senior leaders within the department. And then based on all of that, we would put together the list on rank ordering how the individuals did during that written test and then the interview process.
And they all go through the same written test? Do they all get interviewed by the same people?
The lieutenants and sergeants are pretty much the same individuals, the leadership at the top level here.
Okay. Because I think there's been some questioning about whether or not there's favoritism shown in terms of some of the promotions, and whether or not people are getting a fair crack at it, given that they may be interviewed by different people, and there may be some favoritism within the different groups that are interviewing.
That's something I would talk to the team here, but I seriously doubt there's much validity to that. I mean, we know everyone in the department here, so the team that's interviewing may know people, and there may be a perception that there's favoritism going on. But how would you actually determine that would be very difficult in my perception. I can tell you that when I provided or took my promotional exam, the first 2 times I never made the list to get interviewed because the former police chiefs had retired and they canceled the list. And so kind of frustrating for somebody to get in there and take a test, pass fairly high, but they canceled the list. And so you have to wait another 3 years for another one. And so, and then you go to school and you get farther up the list the 3rd time you take it. So having experienced that, I don't see where there would be favoritism in the sergeants, lieutenants, and the chief at this level doesn't get involved until the captains and majors. And so I have no friends in the department, so there's no favoritism here. I'm just kidding. I do have
Okay, thank you, Chief.
Commissioner Chin has a question.
Commissioner Chin, Chief Logan. I was just repeating what you were saying.
Sorry.
Great start. Chief Logan, Chief Logan, I wanted to welcome you to your first commission meeting. Thank you, and thanks to your loved ones for just stepping up. I think we all really appreciate that you're taking on this big position. We understand, and I think we've all learned that you've been on a long journey in your life and in your career to get yourself here, and I think you're also facing a very long journey that's ahead of you as well. And I just want you to know that, I think one of the things that my fellow Commissioner Okanaga has helped me is always reminding me, is that as commissioners, we're not just here to criticize the department and the head, but we're also here to help you succeed and to help you be as outstanding as you possibly can be. So I know that all the commissioners are really dedicated and committed to making that happen for you. So we look forward to what our relationship is going to be like going forward, and for the many future meetings that we have. Some of which might not be as pleasant as this one, but I think all of it will be ways to be able to make the department better. On the subject of the swearing in that took place, I think it's something that your leadership team might just want to take into account. Is just accepting the fact that there's going to be certain members of the press and some members of the public who are going to be watching the department very closely under your watch to make sure that you are being transparent, and they're going to look very closely to see if there's any slight indication that the department is continuing as in their perception as it was before. And I think there's two ways that your department could look at it. One way would be to dismiss the criticism that you received over the swearing in, and to just say they're being unfair, they're being unreasonable, they didn't give me a fair shake, I was just trying to get myself on the job. And I know that's one way to look at it. I guess another way to look at it would be that basically you coming into this position are fighting a perception that the department hasn't been transparent in the past. And so any sort of deviation, no matter how slight, from transparency is something that's going to be looked upon with criticism. And so I even noticed something, there was an article where Shopo Union President Kavako had said, it would have just been very simple to give the media a call and just let them know, hey, in an hour we're going to do a quick swearing in or something like that. I agree with that. I just think that all I want to say is I want to encourage you going forward to think about this, is that it's just, you've got a big ship to turn around. You may not have been the cause of the perception that people are feeling, but you're now responsible for it. So I really urge you to work with your public media relations team and really focus on that, because I think it is important for the public. So thank you, and best wishes to you, Chief.
Thank you, Commissioner Chin. What we did come out of that event was we're going to live stream via video all events that we're doing. And so, granted, I take your information, and I agree with both sides. I mean, there is a reason why, just to get on board and get started. And then I have a more formal, larger, 200 to 300 person event coming at the end of June, so next week, Wednesday. And so that is a much larger event that I looked at with the media invited. So, but I absolutely agree. We'll take a look at anything that we do that involves all of us here on the fourth floor, and provide a live video feed so that it's to the public and they can see it. So thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you, Commissioner Chen. Vice Chair Gibson has a question, Chief.
Chief, back to the 312s just for a moment. Once you may decide that they are viable, how does that work? Does that mean the entire department will go 312, or does it work in seniority 312 some, 5/8 others? How does that work? Everybody does it, or what will be the outcome of that?
I think the way I understand it would be patrol divisions would all be on 312. And then other parts of the department may be not on a 312, maybe our criminal investigation divisions or other elements, maybe a 5-4-9 schedule, a 5-8 schedule, or even a 4-10 schedule. So we're going to take a look across the board at what builds morale and what helps employees. And so that's something we're not there yet, but this is patrol right now looking at the 312 and not the other support elements of the police department.
Thanks, Chief, and welcome aboard.
Thank you, Commissioner. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Commissioner Silva has a question or comment?
Sure.
Hi, Chief Logan. Once again, like everyone else, we're just welcoming you on board, and you came in with both your eyes open. It's going to be a tough job here, but you know what? It's a tough job nationwide. It's really a difficult time for law enforcement as a whole, whether it's local or on the federal level. You had mentioned that there's an upcoming Major Chiefs Conference, and that is such a wealth of information, because a lot of the problems that we're experiencing here in Hawaii have been going on in a lot of the large cities. So for you to get active in that group, to get in touch with the people that can help you to get answers to problems that we have is going to be huge for you. Because my previous life on the fire side, that was a resource that we found to be extremely helpful, especially when we're out here in the middle of the Pacific by ourselves, where we don't have a lot of neighboring support from other agencies. The other thing is this: I was really appreciative of you folks on the news yesterday evening addressing where you are with things that are top of mind. These burglaries that are happening in local businesses in different communities, it's a big deal, because you're talking about businesses that can barely survive in the economic environment, and then when they're attacked in this fashion, hopefully that they can hang on. So just to see that the public can know where you folks are headed with that, and if you can keep them apprised of not only these kind of incidents, but if anything else comes up as well. So I think that's a really good first step.
Thank you, Commissioner. I appreciate that. And even the 4 county police chiefs, we've been emailing the last couple days about reforming an association that I guess they've had in the past. And it's really important for the 4 county police chiefs here to be in step with each other. We won't always do things the same way, but at least we understand what's going on and how we address given requirements and things that are going on. And then, as you mentioned, what's going on the mainland, it comes to Hawaii. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer than others, whether it's 21st century policing or other things that happen on the mainland that the other departments are experiencing. So we want to get ahead of that game, and how do we prepare ourselves here in Hawaii? And so we look forward to meeting. I think we have a HIDA meeting next month in July. And so there's an opportunity for the 4 county police chiefs to get together and talk story. And then, of course, the Big Island police chief is going to retire here, and then they'll go through their selection process. But thank you for that information. I greatly appreciate it.
Sure.
Thank you. Commissioner Okinaga has a question, comment?
Thank you, and thank you to Commissioner Chin for thanking your family for supporting you in this big new job. We really look forward to working with you on this new administration, and I'm so full of hope and for a transition that brings the department into a good place where we can fill all the vacancies, keep the public safe. All of those goals are really important to all of us. I was just wondering about transition team, please. So thank you for hitting the ground running and appointing your deputy chiefs. I think there's additional decisions to be made, and I was just wondering about time frame, please, if you had one in mind.
Well, the deputy chiefs are all on board. There's 2 acting assistant chiefs that are on board right now. I'm looking towards who's available and then who would like to move up to be assistant chief on a more permanent basis. So that's coming probably in the next month or 2. We'll get towards that. But yes, in My wife is very supportive of what's going on. She's very appreciative. I do miss that I got home to help her and all the things that she does around the house and in the backyard with the plants and the dogs. And so, but I greatly appreciate and love very much that without her support, it would be difficult for me to do this job.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Okinaga. Chief, I just also wanted to welcome you on board along with your deputy chiefs who maybe at a future meeting you can introduce to the members of the public unless they want to say a few words or you want to introduce them here today.
They're with me, they can.
Okay, yeah, if you would be willing, I think that would be helpful to just know who's
The chief,
with
he's coming into view of the camera here.
Great. Thank you. Go
Hi,
ahead.
Chief Horikawa. Yeah, I've coming out of retirement. I retired back in about a year and a half ago, and prior to that, I spent 28 years with the department. Kind of came up in in ranks, different assignments. Last assignment being I was the major of CID, Criminal Investigation Division. Prior to that, I was with District 3 and PSO and Training Division, but. For the most part, I spent a lot of my time in the investigative side of the house, as a detective, investigator in different areas, as well as patrol. And yeah, looking forward to being part of the team again. Thank you, Chief Logan, for bringing me out of retirement. But I'm really eager to help. I spent almost my entire adult life either in service to the country or to the community, and really looking forward to trying to apply my experiences to that effort. So.
Thank you, Chief Horikawa. Any questions for Chief Horikawa or go ahead, Chief Vanek, sorry, go ahead.
Thank you. I'd like to introduce myself to everyone. As Deputy Chief, my wife says that I've come to find my smile again. I just told her I always had my smile. It was just sometimes upside down. But I don't think I really need to introduce myself too much to you, but I would like to say that I'm very honored and I do appreciate very much that Chief Logan has selected me. I have told him that I'm committed to, and I promise also to you and the public that I'm committed to maintaining my high level of performance that I hope you've come to know about me, and just support him in whatever way I can. Like Keith, I mean, I spent most of my life serving the department and the community. I have a wealth of experience, and I just look forward to continuing to do whatever is needed to make sure that both our community stays safe and our department moves forward in a positive way. So thank you.
It's been a great opportunity to transition with Deputy Chief Vanek in his wealth of experience and what he's been doing, and then bringing Keith on board, the Deputy Chief, in operations and investigation. So it helps me do my job. I can't do this alone. I need the 7 of you commissioners to help me with the police department, along with all the people that are in this room that you can't see, other than the 2 gentlemen to my right and left. And I can just tell you that I look at everything differently because I've been gone for 20 years. So I ask a lot of questions, and so I want to know, why are we doing things this way? And if I don't think it's right, then we're going to start changing things. And I said that at a command meeting that you had with all of the senior leadership of Honolulu Police Department, that things are going to probably change. And I think agreeing with all of you for the better and more transparent and accountable to the community, which we should be.
Thank you, thank you. I think Commissioner Okinaga has a comment or question?
Yeah, I think more of a comment. So another item in the news was about the council chair's request for audit of the hiring process for the city and the length of time it takes. I just wanted to say that I think the past administrations have something to maybe add to that discussion, because I think it was under Chief Ballard and then further under Chief Vanek, we took some of the hiring back into the department and vastly accelerated the length of time that officers took to be hired. So that is maybe some lessons to be learned for the rest of the city.
And talking with the team up here, they drastically reduced, and thank you for that, the time it takes to get an officer or on board, or somebody interested in being a police officer. Whether it can be shrunken anymore, I don't think so. I think we're kind of at capacity with that length of time to do all the things that are required, to do background checks and other things. But there's a lot of things I'm becoming aware that our recruiting elements have done as far as administration is concerned about building, now that they can get out into the community, right? Because pandemic, we weren't allowed to visit the schools and universities and businesses and military installations, but now the recruiters can get out. So those things are already in process and already started, so we should be building back up our numbers quickly. So thank you.
Wonderful, thank you.
Great. And I guess, Chief, to that point, I just wanted to compliment your team, mainly the community policing team. I see Coffee with the Cop coming back, and attendance at that by community members has been up. I really think that might be a great tool just to encourage folks to, consider becoming a police officer. So I just wanted to thank you for that, as well as my own personal thanks for Police Activities League being up and ready. We had the opportunity this past weekend for volleyball with the kids, and it was just awesome to see kids out there engage in organized sports with officers there manning all the games and teams. So just a shout out to your team, and thank you for getting out in the community again and just having an outlet for our kids, just to play organized sports. So thank you very much.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Great. If no further questions for Chief, we'll move on our report with the approval of minutes for the open session of April 27th, 2022.
I would like to make a motion that we approve the minutes of the open session of April 27th, 2022 that were included in our mail from the last meeting.
Second.
Thank you. Any, Okay, at this time, I'll take the vote. If there is approval of the minutes, everyone say aye.
Aye.
Any noes or abstentions? Hearing none, the motion carries.
Yeah.
You're recused.
I wasn't there.
Okay. Recognizing the abstention of Commissioner Okinaga, the motion carries. Thank you very much. Moving on to the Executive Officer's Report. Mr. Yuen.
Thank you, Chair. As of June 22nd, we have a total of 39 registered complaints. Of the 39, 20 remain pending. Cases referred to PSO is 10. 1 was closed by PSR, and 5 were administratively closed. That ends the status of investigation. As for the office and personnel report, I met with the city auditor who was doing the audit for the Honolulu Police Commission, the office, and was informed it's about a 2 to 3 month process. And so we are meeting regularly, providing the information that the auditor is asking for. The audit is going to focus on 3 things: the effectiveness of our existing systems, which is the policy, procedure, rules, etc. Also the evaluation of the complaint process that we normally take from the public, and also to see what can be improved in the HPC's ability to provide oversight and advisory review of the police department. So being that is an ongoing process, we're not gonna know the results until maybe July or August, where I can provide a more detailed report, or the auditor will provide that report. As for the personnel report, right now we have vacancies for 2 positions, the senior clerk typist receptionist position and the investigator position. So we're in the process of looking at the responsibilities and duties of all the positions for the office to see if we could maintain the integrity of those positions, but add certain other responsibilities that civilian oversight does entail, to include that in part of the responsibilities. I'll also like to report that the National Association for Civilian Oversight of Law Enforcement, which is NACOLE, which we are a member of, is having a conference, in-person conference from September 11th to the 15th, and a virtual conference in October, November, and 2 times in November. NACOLE has been very helpful. We have been a member for several years, and we exchange ideas. They have sort of like training and all this kind of stuff. The website is nacole.org for information. And I believe that completes my report.
Any questions for Mr. Yuen? Thank you, Mr. Yuen. With that, we're moving on our agenda to consideration of executive session.
The following agenda items will be reviewed in executive session pursuant to HRS 92-5A, subsections 2, 4, 5, 6, and 8, to consider the hire, evaluation, dismissal, or discipline of an officer or employee, or if charges brought against the officer or employee, or consideration of matters affecting privacy will be involved, to consult with its attorneys on questions and issues pertaining to the board's powers, duties, privileges, immunities, and liabilities, to investigate proceedings regarding criminal misconduct, to consider sensitive matters related to public safety or security, to deliberate or make a decision upon a matter that requires the consideration of information that must be kept confidential pursuant to state or federal law or court order. During this meeting, there may be discussion with the chief of police and staff regarding internal strategies and sensitive criminal investigation matters relating to public safety, and that disclosure could significantly risk the circumvention of law and undermine the effectiveness of the public's protection by the police. Chair, at this time, move that we go into executive session.
Thank you, Commissioner. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor of going into executive session, say aye.
Aye.
Any noes or abstentions? Hearing none, the motion carries. Thank you, members of the public who are joining us via live stream. We will be terminating the live stream at this time and going into executive session. If anyone wants to join us at part 2, the agenda notes the link that you can join after we come out of executive session. Thank you very much.